There are some definite differences, guys, between the Tesla Model 3 Ludicrous or Performance, which is manufactured in America, and the version made in China. Now, we know one thing is different, the power difference. There's about a 20 horsepower difference between the two vehicles. It's not 50 horsepower, that's completely false. Just made up by a bunch of YouTubers who don't understand the different power ratings that America uses versus the rest of the world, which they sort of inflate the power performance of American cars versus global cars, and it creates a lot of confusion. For example, Australians were always thinking they were getting worse Mustangs, Ford Mustangs, from America, but the power figures were exactly the same. They were just measured differently. So yes, there's a difference in power for the Model 3 Performance in America versus the Chinese version, but it's only a small number of around 20 horsepower. But there is one other difference, which I kind of touched on a little bit in a video, but many people have probably missed it. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's fantastic to see you. Guys, I actually don't care about these differences between the cars. Some people are really, really worked up about it. Personally, I don't really care because I think this is still the best value performance car in the history of the planet Earth. I can't think of anything else that actually comes anywhere near close when it comes to the bang for your buck. So, the dollar per horsepower figure, the dollar per performance figure, it's insane. It's incredible. For the price that this car is, I mean, it's like we live in the most amazing time. If you love performance cars, this vehicle, the Model 3 Ludicrous, is so much better than the old version. And it's cheaper. How did that happen? I mean, inflation goes crazy. We're all complaining about inflation. Everyone's saying that, in Australia, they're complaining about the cost of everything. But Tesla's cars are only getting cheaper in Australia, like every year. Anyhow, the big difference here between the Chinese-made version and the American version, aside from this small power difference, is the batteries. The batteries are different. In America, you guys use a Panasonic battery. In China, they use an LG battery. The LG battery is slightly smaller. It's about 5% smaller in China, and therefore the range is a bit less. Now, official range figures are one thing, but the truth is, in the real world, you're going to be looking at probably about a 15-mile range decrease in the Chinese-made version. So that's the difference, really. You're looking at about probably 25 kilometers of extra range in the US version, along with the fact that, it has slightly more power. So, guys, it is true what people are saying on forums. There is definitely, the American version is better. But then again, look on the flip side. The Chinese-made versions apparently have better fit and finish and quality and whatever else. That said, guys, I have to say, journalists who have reviewed the new Model 3 Highland, all this stuff about quality and stuff, they're definitely not saying any of that at all. They're saying actually the quality is phenomenal and it's up there with something like a BMW. And I'm not talking one journalist. I've read that at least 10 different times from different people who have actually tested the car and are not being paid by Tesla to do it. They have no vested interest, don't get any marketing revenue from Tesla. So I think the quality of these cars, whether they're made in America or China, they're both really, really, really good. Tesla have updated the website with the range of the Model 3 Performance. Range has increased slightly, but actually that's not true. Range has gone up by 7 miles. It was 296 miles. It's now 303. That's using 20-inch warp wheels. Now, some people, what they're doing is they're putting on 18 or 19-inch wheels, and that's giving them more range. That's giving them closer to the range of the Model 3 long range. So that's an option. If you want to get an extra, probably around about 30 miles, put on 18-inch wheels, and it will actually improve the ride as well. It won't look quite as cool, but I mean, depends on if that matters to you. Now, the truth is, guys, the EPA range figures, they're a little bit misleading because 303 miles is probably what you're really going to get in the real world, right? That's pretty close. I think it's pretty close. But the EPA have changed their numbers. So now when you look at the EPA figures, they're lower than what they used to be. The EPA have changed the testing cycle. So really, this Tesla Model 3 probably has closer to 20 miles more range than the old version. If they tested it on the old version, it would probably come out to around 20 miles more range. So the range has definitely improved. The efficiency of this car has improved. I'm not sure exactly what Tesla did. Anyhow, 303 miles of EPA range officially. That works out to 487 kilometers. Now, you might be a little confused. If you're watching from Australia, you can jump on the Australian website or or if you're watching this from Europe, same deal, right? In Europe, this Model 3 all-wheel drive performance has 528 kilometers of range. So it has around 50 kilometers more range than it has in America. But that's it's actually just a different testing cycle. The truth is that the EPA testing cycle is more stringent now than the WLTP. So even though it says 528 in Europe, you're going to get a little bit more range with the American version. Now, if you want a lot more range though, it's obviously best to go for the long range all-wheel drive, which according to WLTP or Europe, Australia, China is even more range than this. China's CLTC, which is a bit silly. Anyhow, it's 630 kilometers for the long range Model 3 Highland. That's a pretty long distance, 630 kilometers. Plus you've got pretty fast charging speeds. That could be a really good car for driving a long distance. I think it'd actually be really ideal. Anyhow, those are the two big differences between the Chinese-made version and the American version. The range, a little bit of range difference, and power, a little bit of range difference. But the power figure is definitely not the much quoted 50 horsepower. It's a lot less than that. Thanks for watching.